Hey guys, Harrison101 back at it once again for a brand new video for you, and welcome to episode 6 of the Online Racer for F1 2013. For F1 2013 online multiplayer gameplay while talking about F1 related topics, and in this case, more F1 video game related topics, if that makes any sense. I want to actually talk about the game itself this time around, and the thing is like, people have been asking me, Dre, should I buy this game? Dre, is it better than last year? All those kind of general, should I buy this game kind of questions. I know that a lot of people are still on the fence when it comes to things like this, so I thought, why not set some things straight about this year's game? And I guarantee you this is an actual review. I've not been paid off by Codemasters or anything like that to prop up its nice points and dress it up and then slap a 9 out of 10 score at the end of it. This is my full, honest review. I mean, let's be honest. Would you expect anything else from me anyway? But I'll say this. This is, as a complete video game package, I think this is the best Formula 1 game they've made to date. Why is that? Listen on and I'll explain. Basically, a lot of the games, about 70% of the game is largely unchanged from last year. But I am actually quite a fan of the core gameplay this year. From a gameplay standpoint, I do actually quite like this year's handling model for the most part. It does a good job of being able to restore your confidence a little bit in what you're doing, and you know how you drive the car. Because I think the problem with F1 2012 when I was playing the game was that I couldn't push as hard as I would like to in these cars because the handling model was very unforgiving. Even with full traction control, you could spin out on any given corner, or you always felt like you couldn't get the maximum out of the car you're driving. I feel like in F1 2013, it gives you a little bit more confidence and it gives you a little bit more leeway, which I am actually quite keen on. What I don't like about the gameplay this year is that it seems to me like there is a lot of wheel spin coming out of the slower corners, so you can't just mash the throttle as soon as you come out of a slower corner like a Rascasse or, turn 1 at Spa or any slow corner, the Adelaide hairpin for example, just in general, any slow corner, you can't get the maximum out of the car. Or you can't slam the throttle down anymore, which let's be honest, if you're a pad user like I am, you're gonna want to do. You want to get the power down as early as you can, but you can't do that without spinning the wheels, and that's something that's become especially evident on the start line. For example, because starts are now completely different. You can't just mash the throttle down as soon as the lights go out anymore, otherwise you're going to spin the wheels up, or especially, it's even worse in the wet. In the wet you can spin the wheels in third gear. It's ridiculous. I do like the fact that it makes starts a little bit more variable, and it does reward people that actually learn how to start the car properly, but at the same time, I'm not a super experienced player. I'm a casual player, and I'm pretty darn sure that most of the people picking up this game are going to be casual gamers and be fans of Formula 1 or fans of racing games in general. Because the people in the F1 community are all, for the most part, pretty much all hardcore players. Especially some of the guys that race in leagues, some of the guys who are constantly online challenging themselves, pushing time trials. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm speaking more of just a general overview of what goes on. So that's how I see it. I am actually still quite keen on the gameplay this year. I think the cars handle very good this year. I'm a fan of that. Not so keen on the wheel spin. Also, I like the fact the AI has been tweaked to make them more aggressive. I like the fact that they're more willing to shoot for a gap under braking. They're not quite there. Still a little bit tentative when it comes to things like braking or things like, for instance, overtaking. I think the guys are still a bit reluctant to overtake in certain situations as well, but I still think it's an improvement on last year, where cars are more likely to go for gaps, they're more likely to pass around the outside, they are more willing to push the envelope a little bit when it comes to that, because I know it's a difficult line to walk, because if you go too far the other way, what can happen is you might get taken out by a car. The car may not have any awareness of where it is, because I know a lot of racing games are guilty of that, where the AI cars have no sense of awareness as to where they are in relation to anyone else on the track. So that's another thing you've got to be careful of as well when it comes to riding the line and tweaking the computerized AI in a video game. You've got to be careful with that one, but I think Codemasters have just about got it right. It's not quite perfect, but I think it's pretty darn good. I also like the fact they've thrown in 5 difficulty levels this year instead of 4, because I think the jumps in difficulty between levels in some cases can be a little bit unfair as well. And if you still want to give yourself a challenge, throw the AI on Legend. It will still give you a really good challenge, even if you're an experienced player like I am, who has played all 4 Formula 1 games from Codemasters. Going into the main gameplay modes themselves. Also, before I do that, a bit more gameplay related stuff. The tyre wear is a bit more aggressive this year. I think the effects of the cliff happen a lot sooner, which is a good thing and keeps us on our toes. And I think they've punished those 1-1-11-11 setups a little bit more as well, which I think is a good thing. Anyone wants to see proof of that, just see my F1 2013 gameplay around Spain and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about on that one. Career mode is largely unchanged for the most part. So I know it's got a fresh lick of paint in terms of presentation, but in terms of what the core career mode does, it's still largely unchanged from last year, which isn't really a bad thing. I'm just still not keen on mid-season driver changes because they just don't happen in Formula 1. They're very rare, and I don't like the idea you can still do terrible in an average team and then Ferrari might come knocking for you straight away midway through the season. That's a bit silly. I'm not keen on that personally, but I think that makes the gameplay a little bit easy, and I don't think that's exactly the right thing to go either. But career mode works, it's still solid, it's still the main meat of the game, and that's a good thing. For those who still want a more casual experience, Season Challenge is still there, and again, largely unchanged from last year. 10-race mini-season, 5-lap races, 1-shot qualifying. It has the feel of a season, but it's much more watered down. You can change teams over every 2 to 3 races. It works, it serves its purpose well, and it does its job well. Also, the young driver test is around as well, again, still largely unchanged as well. What I'm really glad to hear about is that this is where things get interesting, because they've made the overall game a lot better by adding more to it. The classic cars content I really enjoy. I'm impressed that Codemasters managed to get all those sponsorship deals in place to get all those older cars and appearances from older drivers in the game as well. Guys like obviously Emerson Fittipaldi, David Coulthard, Damon Hill, Mario Andretti, Alan Prost, etc., etc. It's just a darn shame they couldn't get Ayrton Senna in, but if you've read the news about Gran Turismo 6, you now know why. But they have some classic Formula 1 cars in there from the 70s, Niki Lauda's old Ferrari, all the way through to the 1990s with the 99 Ferrari with Eddie Irvine in it, or the 99 Williams, with Damon Hill and Mika Häkkinen's in there too. And the cars handle great. They're really satisfying and rewarding to drive once you find their sweet spot. And I think that's great. Like, the power oversteer, and like I just referenced Kev series there, but you got the power oversteer going on there. Yeah, it's rewarding to hook up. The cars feel great. They're a bit looser. They're a bit rawer to handle. You haven't got the traction controllers to save you as much. And overall, I really, really enjoy it using the classic cars. They've got their own scenario mode, their own time attack mode as well. So for those that like thrashing out lap times or like a challenge, that's there as well. And I'm really impressed with scenario mode this year. Obviously they've taken the concept of what Champions mode did in F1 2012, where they had scenarios based on the real life experiences of former champions like Lewis Hamilton, obviously Jenson Button, Sebastian Vettel, Fernando Alonso, Michael Schumacher, etc. They've clearly taken that mode and expanded it over the classic content and the modern content, and they made scenario mode a lot bigger. There used to be only 7 scenarios in F1 2012, but now there's 20 plus another 6 on the classic side of the content as well, which I think is a really, really good move. I'm actually very, very glad that they have taken it upon themselves to expand a mode that in last year's game had a lot of potential. So I'm really glad that scenario mode is really good. It's still really enjoyable. They've put some real life experiences in there again as well. If you pay attention, like they have Jenson Button's comeback, for example, from Canada 2011 in there. One of the best comebacks I've ever seen in Formula 1. So you can get a little bit of satisfaction out of that if you're an old school Formula 1 fan too. However, the game still has one overbearing problem. Despite the fact the game has, some really nice features put in there, like mid-session saves, like that will definitely improve long-term playability of the game as well, because now you can save the game during any session and then come back whenever you like. That's a really great feature, and that should definitely encourage some players to embrace longer races, because I'm still not a big fan on the jump in race length from like 3 laps, 5 laps, and then 25%. So you're now doing like 15 to 20 laps on most tracks. So now you can do mid-session saves, so you can now save your race in the middle and then come back when you like. It's a really great feature. But the main downside to this game is that online still has big issues. The hardcores especially are going to be particularly screwed over by this. The online cars, like for example, online cars are not equal, which is very disappointing. I mean, Codemasters have been making Formula 1 games now for 4 years. 2010 to 2013. This is their 4th incarnation now, and they still can't get all the cars equal. It's inexcusable. There's no reason why they can't have one basic car and just have 11 different color skins over it for the 11 different teams. There is no reason why they can't have equal cars online. I mean, that is, I don't know if it's just lazy developing or there's some kind of glitch that they missed where the cars aren't equal, but clearly something isn't right there, and it needs to be addressed. I'm hearing there's a patch coming which may solve the problem soon, but I think even Codemasters have admitted it's an error they shouldn't have had in there. And the online servers in general are not as strong as they were last year. I mean, F1 2012 had the occasional lag bubble. 2013 takes it to another level. There's disconnects everywhere. There's definitely more lag in my experience of playing the game, which can just wreak havoc with people's races. I mean, you look at the prime example. Pardon me. Those who subscribe to Arav may have seen his Formula PlayStation video, and how many incidents during the race were affected by lag, and lag bubbles, and cars ghosting and then not ghosting, and it generally wreaks havoc with the game, and it's not right. And I think the online stability of the game clearly needs work, as well as the modes. I'm glad they've put classic cars online, and in fact you can use classic cars on modern tracks and vice versa. That's definitely a cool feature, and I'm glad they had that involved, and I'm glad they've taken that online as well. However, the stability of the game needs work, and you know what? I still think they should do something to improve the other online modes. I mean, there's an endurance mode, there's a pole position mode, and all that's on there. However, I don't get why these modes are barely advertised when sprint is the default. If they actually had a proper menu saying, there's sprint mode, this, and this, and you could do that, I think they'd be more popular, because I've never seen anyone go on pole position mode online or go on endurance mode online or anything like that. I think they could easily do that more often. I just don't see why they couldn't. Like, everyone will default to sprint, and sprint is the worst mode of any online, like 3 laps, but it's the one that everybody uses, which is just a shame. You can't find a game anywhere else. However, overall, like I said, as a complete game package, this is the best Formula 1 game they've done to date. Now, should you buy it? I would recommend this game if you're a casual Formula 1 fan, or if you're someone that just likes racing games in general. If you're someone who's a hardcore Formula 1 racing game or a hardcore simulated racing fan, and they don't, I mean, you might get ticked off by some of the minor errors, like the online stability, how the wheel spin in the cars are affected. It might put you off a little bit more than most people would. However, if you're a casual fan, I'd highly recommend doing something like this. I'd highly recommend picking this game up, because I think it's very, very good. Overall, I'd give it probably an 8 out of 10 kind of grade. I would say get it full price if you're a casual fan. If you're a hardcore fan, you might want to wait a little bit, see if there's a patch coming soon to solve some of the problems online and offline. Because as I think overall from a gameplay standpoint, it's not quite fully tight yet. But like I said, as an overall gaming package, it's actually worth £40 now, rather than playing a game which is still pretty limiting for a sports game. For example, if you compare it to other modes out there, I think it's the nature of Formula 1 in general, where it's quite limited as to what you can put in a Formula 1 game as compared to what you can put in a FIFA game, where there's Ultimate Team, there's pro clubs. you're a little bit laboured from the start when it comes to what you can put in a Formula 1 game. But I think with what they've got, I think they've done very well this year, Codemasters, as an overall package. But anyway, I'd love to hear what you guys think of Formula 1 2013 this year. What do you make of the game, and what do you make of the overall experience so far? Now it's been out for about a month. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. And as always, leave a like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I will catch you guys next time. I've been Harrison101. Thank you very much for watching, and sayonara.
I'm going to manage 6 laps at least tonight for a mess. An absolute mess. Complete.
There's only 4 seconds gap between you and the car ahead.